Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. So this month we are going to continue to talk about leveling up your analytics career. And I've got my buddy Billy Zhao here to talk about how he has leveled up his own specific career. And he's done this by taking on additional responsibilities and learning different tools that are a little bit outside of his stated role or actual job description. So, hey Billy, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited to kind of delve into this topic because I think it's something that they can't really teach so much in class. But interviewing you and kind of talking through this and dissecting it, I think this will give the listeners a really good model of how to think about growing their career. So, can you walk us through what's your current job title?
So I'm a data modeling and analytics analyst.
Okay, interesting. So, what really perked up my ears in the conversations we were having outside the podcast is that you're a data modeler, but you have recently expanded your Tableau skill set so that now you're doing data modeling and data visualization within your organization.
Correct. So it starts with building data sets based on data warehouse input. So when you have several streams of data and you learn how to build them into a relational database, and then use the data set to set push out for the business users. What I start doing more and more is building a visualization on top of this data set, which usually represents certain type of business dimensions and so on. And using Tableau is a very important tool to actually turn this very opaque and hard to understand data set into something that the business users can understand.
Interesting. So, how did you go about kind of reaching out of your lane, so to speak? So, how did that process start?
Well, it starts with, I had a request for the Tableau um, license. So I have my Tableau certification, and so I present to them that I can build visualization, and then I was granted for Tableau desktop, and then so I can actually build the dashboard and then publish to Tableau online for a business user to review.
Interesting. So, I mean, I think we should pause here and kind of dissect this. So you got a job doing data modeling, but then you took your own time, which actually it's funny, you were the first student to take my certification course, and that helped you get certified. So then you're kind of like putting together a proposal to your manager of, hey, look, I think it's a good idea to do this next initiative. And oh, by the way, I'm the man for the job because I went ahead and I have gotten certified in Tableau. I think that's really strong.
Yeah, so from a while back, I always know that I need to hone my visualization skills. I've done a lot of visualization in Excel, and I know that Excel is a very good tool to build some on-the-run graphics and so on, but it has some limitation. It's not a database-driven tool, so often you run into this limitation of when you're dealing with a large data set or something that you have to replicate over a period of time. So I did reach out to some of my alumni, and they told me one of the best visualization tools out there is Tableau. And then I think I found you on LinkedIn when you were talking about this on LinkedIn and on YouTube about your experience, and you're offering, education on how to get Tableau certification. I practiced quite a bit on that, and then I watched your course, and I passed my exam on the first try. It definitely helped me to put me on the spot where when people request to know your skill set with a certification versus without on a resume, that really does make a difference.
Oh, that's interesting. I literally made a video like a year ago about what's the value of a Tableau certification. And it was kind of more framed about getting your first job, but this is a completely different scenario where you're now using that certification as leverage to then kind of grow your responsibility and therefore your skill set.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Tableau certification, I've met people who said, oh, I don't need certification, I can do it all day long. But in reality is this, there are a lot of people who are out there working in the businesses have some level of Tableau skills. But in reality, is the vast majority of the people in the business can't really build very high level Tableau dashboards. They can build some basic, fairly simple Tableau dashboards. But when it get to the level of, certain calculated fields or level of detail calculation, you really need to spend some time to learn it from a very fundamental way. And a certification is one way to kind of force you to learn it systematically. That really helps.
Yeah, and that seems to kind of mitigate the risk from your manager, because it is a risk, because you could take on this initiative and totally botch it, and then he looks kind of silly and you look silly because you just wasted all this time and resources, your time that you're spending on that, his time that he's, checking in with you and monitoring the process, and then also the cost of the additional license to have you actually have your own, Tableau workspace or desktop license.
That's right. And I think the certification give people a bit of a confidence that I can build the things that I promise I will build.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point and a perspective that's a little bit foreign to me, because I'm more in the consulting space. So the people that are consulting as Tableau consultants are pretty top notch. But you working, in corporate America, like in a bigger organization, someone might say they have Tableau skills, and that can mean either, they do know level of detail and, calculated fields, and, they can build an interactive dashboard, or they know how to make a bar chart, you know?
Yeah,
Interesting. So it sounds like what you're doing also is building a skill stack or a tool stack.
that's right. So in any given organization, they have a set of technologies they use to build analytics works, right? So
Mhm.
usually they have a data pipeline coming in from various organizations, and then they aggregate those data pipeline, transform them, ETL them into a data warehouse environment. And nowadays, most likely those data warehouses exist in one of the three cloud provider, AWS, Azure, or Google. And there are some smaller players like Oracle, these three usually covers majority of them. And that means the majority of the database and data warehouses are stayed on this cloud sphere. And then you'll have the analytics team to extract those data further or roll them up, summarize them into business knowledge or business intelligence. Then you have to find a way to transform them or build them on a visualization so you can build this descriptive analytics where you can show the marketing team, sales team, the senior leadership team that how the business is doing. We call that descriptive analytics, meaning that telling the people what's happening, what happened in the past.
Interesting. So I think we chatted about this a little bit before the interview. What is the value of having this stack of skills or knowledge?
Well, to start with, to have a to have several skill sets together will help you to be a wholesome or generally well accepted player in a multifunctional team. Because if you're too specialized in just one area, for instance, in the old days, there will be a one guy who's really good at DBA, database administration of one particular database. For instance, like I'm the best DBA of MySQL. Then he can handle anything else other than MySQL. If you're decided the organization decided to transfer your data set from, say, your on-premise data set to, Azure or AWS, your prior skill set will almost render useless. So basically, to build a set of skills to cover several of these technologies will help you to weather all these changes. Because the technology world has changed so much in a very very fast fashion. In the few years ago, is VMware was the number one thing. Everybody's learning how to do the vSphere and so on. Nowadays, everything is Docker. Who knows in 5 years what's going to be the next? So you have to sort of keep up. And so some of these technologies are well built, like Tableau has been there for a while, and it's definitely still number one visualization tool in this landscape. To have that skill set available will actually, give you that edge in your career path.
Interesting. So basically, the value of a skill set, if I can try to sum up what you're saying, it mitigates your risk of becoming obsolete or having skills that don't really matter anymore.
Right. So my hunch is just everybody, no matter where you are, from entry level, from just out of college to you're already mid-career, need to keep up, need to spend some time to learn some new skills, whether through online or through some kind of boot camp or something. But everybody should spend that time. Unfortunately, a lot of time people start to learn a new skill when it's too late. Either they realize their career is just about to be killed because some automation is taking over, or they didn't like what they're doing. They want to do a career switch. That will put up a lot of pressure on them to get it done. If you're actually taking time proactively when you're still having a good job, and then you just want to learn some new skills, that's the best time to get it done.
Yeah. And also, a benefit that I'm seeing too is, so you have a data modeling position now, but say that you kind of lead the charge with this new Tableau initiative. In 2 years, you could potentially get a Tableau centric role if you wanted to, especially if you continue to, take those online courses and kind of grow that skill set and that knowledge base.
That's right. Especially considering Tableau is changing as well. They're adding so many new features and new tools. The Tableau Prep, the Tableau, some BI tools they created for the data pipeline is all very useful. If you can, and also the Tableau server side is a lot of new things coming up, and their Tableau API is very good. So if you want to build some additional tool set, even like executive dashboard with a embedded web page, you can learn that along the way. So with a Tableau role, you can actually grow on it, and there's plenty of room to grow.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Do you have any kind of like closing remarks or any last minute tips about growing your career, leveling up?
Well, I think again back to my original thought was to be goal oriented, to always set a goal for yourself, and with a goal inside, then you know what to do. There are plenty of different options you can choose, and as long as you have a very specific goal, and what should I say? It's a goal that can be reached by some hard work. Uh, how you get there is actually secondary, and I think anybody who had a set goal, they can get there.
Awesome. Well, Billy, I really appreciate your time.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, thanks for coming on.